Have you ever wondered why some men feel drawn toward the idea of more than one wife, even when the world tells them it's wrong, selfish, or impossible? It's not always about desire or ego or control. Sometimes it comes from a quiet ache in the soul, a search for completeness that one love alone can't seem to fill. A man may love deeply, yet still feel an emptiness he can't name, like a room inside him that stays locked no matter how much affection he gives or receives. This feeling does not make him heartless. It makes him human, flawed, complex, and endlessly searching for meaning in the language of connection. From the moment a boy becomes aware of himself, he learns that love defines his worth. But men are taught to hide their emotions, to turn tenderness into silence, to trade honesty for strength. So when he grows and feels the pull of many energies, he doesn't always understand it. Each woman he meets seems to awaken a different mirror inside him. One shows peace, another passion, another wisdom, another laughter. And he begins to wonder, is love meant to be one colour? Or could it be a spectrum his soul longs to experience fully? The world calls it lust, but perhaps for some, it's the hunger to understand love from every angle, to see how many ways the heart can feel alive. A man who desires multiple wives doesn't always chase bodies. Sometimes he chases balance. Each woman may reflect a different side of him, the dreamer, the warrior, the protector, the child. In every union he feels a unique rhythm of his spirit, but he lives in a time where this desire is misunderstood. Society tells him to choose, to settle, to silence the parts of him that don't fit the picture of one lifelong devotion. And yet, in his quiet hours, he feels the whisper of something ancient, a memory buried in his blood that says love once moved differently, that men and women once lived in tribes where affection wasn't confined to numbers but guided by purpose and care. But not every man is worthy of that path. Desire alone is not enough. It takes a heart steady with discipline, a mind clear of pride, and a soul honest enough to admit when love turns into greed. The psychology of a man who seeks multiple wives isn't born in arrogance, but in a deep conflict between instinct and responsibility. He wants to feel, but he fears to harm. He desires connection, but he fears judgment. And in that tension, he stands between two worlds, the wild and the civilized, the past and the present, the heart and the mind. At his core, he wants peace, not chaos. He seeks a family that reflects harmony, not competition. He dreams of unity, where each heart he touches is valued, protected, understood. But such a dream demands maturity. It requires a love so pure it does not exploit, a wisdom so clear it does not confuse possession with devotion. Many men fail this test because they chase the image, not the essence. They want the beauty of many women, but not the responsibility that comes with nurturing many souls. And so, the man who truly desires multiple wives must first face himself. He must ask, what am I looking for? What is missing within me that I hope another heart will complete? Until he can answer that truthfully, every relationship he builds will become an echo of his own confusion. Because no number of wives can heal a wound that still bleeds within him. Only self-understanding can, only stillness can. When a man's desire multiplies, it can reveal two paths, one sacred, one selfish. In the sacred path, love expands. It becomes a circle where everyone is seen, honoured, cared for. In the selfish path, love shrinks. It becomes a hunger that devours peace. The difference lies not in how many he loves, but how deeply he respects the ones he loves. The world sees the act, psychology sees the motive, and often it's not the number that matters, it's the reason. Many men hide behind this desire to mask their emptiness. They think another love will fix what one couldn't. But love is not a patch, it's a mirror. Every relationship shows him who he is, what he fears, what he craves. When a man seeks more, sometimes he's not seeking women, he's seeking pieces of himself he's lost along the way. He may have been raised to believe that love equals ownership, that masculinity equals dominance, that more women means more power. But true masculinity is not about how many hearts you collect. It's about how responsibly you hold the ones that trust you. The man who understands this knows that love isn't about possession, it's about presence. Still, deep in his nature, there's something untamed. Not violent, but vast. Men are wired to explore, to seek, to conquer new horizons. Some do it through ambition, others through experience, others through love. But psychology teaches that every exploration is symbolic. The man who desires multiple wives may not be running toward women, but toward a forgotten part of his purpose, the part that wants to give, to protect, to create. He doesn't always seek pleasure. Sometimes he seeks meaning through multiplicity. Yet meaning has a price. When you love more than one, you cannot love shallowly. You must become more patient, more honest, more self-controlled than any man who loves one, because you will face jealousy, misunderstanding, sacrifice, not from others, but from within. And if your heart is not anchored, you'll lose yourself in the very dream you thought would make you whole. Real love, whether one or many, begins with inner peace. Until a man learns to master his loneliness, he will mistake desire for destiny, and that confusion can break hearts. The psychology of this man, then, is not just about wanting more. It's about learning to give more, without losing balance, without losing self. It's about discovering whether his hunger comes from wisdom or from weakness. When a man begins to understand himself, he realizes that his longing for many loves was never truly about numbers. It was about depth. It was his soul's clumsy way of reaching for a love wide enough to hold his contradictions. Every man carries within him more than one version of himself: the protector, the dreamer, the teacher, the wanderer. Each version seeks a different rhythm, a different reflection. And sometimes he mistakes the presence of many women as the only way to awaken those many versions. But once awareness dawns, he sees that true completeness does not come from multiplying hearts. It comes from expanding his own. When his heart matures, he stops chasing mirrors outside and begins polishing the one within. The world often judges such men harshly, calling them restless, unfaithful, or greedy. But judgment is easy when you have never felt the chaos of dual emotions. To love deeply and still feel the urge to understand more faces of affection. The mature man doesn't fight this instinct. He studies it. He sits with it in silence, asking what lesson it hides. Sometimes that lesson is restraint. Sometimes it's acceptance. And sometimes it's realizing that the desire for many loves was simply a call to become a better lover to one. To love her in all her shades as if she were many women in one soul. There is a certain loneliness only men carry. The quiet kind that no conversation can fill. It's the loneliness of being expected to know, to lead, to decide, even when the heart trembles. That loneliness can make affection feel like a shelter, and in seeking more wives, a man might be trying to build more shelters, more safety from the storms inside him. But psychology reminds us that comfort does not cure loneliness. Connection does. And connection comes not from quantity but from honesty. Until a man learns to open his heart without fear, he will keep mistaking comfort for love and company for peace. When men of old had multiple wives, it was often bound by purpose, protection, alliance, survival. Today the same instinct may surface in modern minds without the old reasons to guide it. What remains is the echo of that ancient instinct, asking to be understood, not obeyed. The wise man listens to that echo without surrendering to it blindly. He asks himself, is my desire building harmony or breaking it? Is it guided by compassion or by craving? For every man, the answer will be different, and that is what makes this psychology so human, so fragile, so real. In the quiet of his mind, when no one is watching, he knows that love is both his strength and his test. To love one woman wholly takes courage. To love more than one fairly takes divinity. And most men are not ready for that level of balance, because love, multiplied, demands multiplied discipline. Every word, every silence, every moment of attention must be divided without diminishing its warmth. To sustain that kind of love, a man must master not others, but himself. He must tame his ego until it bows before kindness. He must learn to give equally without favoritism, to hold one heart without making the other feel unseen. And in doing so, he realizes the truth. It's not about having more wives, it's about becoming the kind of man capable of such responsibility. True masculinity does not hunger for conquest. It hungers for meaning. The man who once sought many wives begins to see that what he really craved was depth. The kind of depth where love becomes legacy. He starts to understand that it's not how many women he can claim, but how many souls he can honor, how many hearts he can protect, how many people he can lead toward peace, not pain. That's when desire transforms into purpose. He stops counting relationships and starts cultivating presence. His love becomes less about owning and more about blessing. And there comes a point when he looks back at his younger self, the man who dreamed of multiple wives, and he smiles, not with regret, but with understanding. He sees how that desire shaped him, how it forced him to question what love really means. It taught him patience, reflection, restraint. It made him look into his own depths and confront both the light and shadow within him. It made him learn empathy. For every woman he once wanted, he now sees her not as a possession, but as a universe, with her own storms, her own peace. Love, he realizes, was never meant to be a cage. It was meant to be a mirror of freedom. Not freedom to betray, but freedom to grow, to be honest about one's complexity, to choose connection over consumption. And in that freedom he discovers that the greatest act of love is not multiplying hearts, but magnifying one, making it so vast, so compassionate, that it can hold all the tenderness he once thought he needed to divide. There's something profoundly human about men who question their capacity for love. It shows that beneath the armor, they are still seekers of warmth, of meaning, of understanding. Every man carries a story that love is trying to teach him. Some learn it through one woman, some through many, and some through the ache of not having any at all. But in the end, the journey is the same: to evolve from desire into devotion, from wanting love to becoming love. So if you see a man who speaks of wanting multiple wives, don't rush to label him. Maybe he's not a sinner, not a saint, just a soul in progress. Maybe he's learning what love really asks of a man: patience, truth, humility. Maybe his heart is still finding its rhythm, and perhaps one day he will learn that the truest form of strength is not in how wide his love can reach, but in how deeply it can stay. Because in the end, the psychology behind this desire is not about women, it's about wholeness. It's about a man wrestling with his own nature, learning how to balance the fire of passion with the water of peace. It's about understanding that every longing points back to a wound, and every wound, when healed, becomes wisdom. A wise man learns that love doesn't grow by multiplying partners, it grows by multiplying understanding. And so, when the night falls and he sits alone, with the weight of his thoughts pressing against the silence, he finally realizes something. He never wanted multiple wives. He wanted to be loved in multiple ways, and the only person who can give him that is himself. The day he learns to love himself fully, the hunger quiets, the storm settles, and love, at last, becomes simple again. One heart, one truth, one peace.